Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Christ consciousness, otherwise known as Gnosis. Well, regular common science is finally, or is catching up to real science that has been around for thousands of years. Science that built pyramids, giant structures, and so many other things that just aren't around anymore because they go back 25 to 50,000 years. They claim the pyramids are 7,000 years old. Oh boy, somebody can't count too good. So, this is, of course, nonsense, and there are so many things from the past in ancient societies that, why would they possibly be still around? But a lot of things have been found. And they go back very, very far. And a lot of it's underneath the oceans, which we conveniently have really not explored. But there's all sorts of things on it. It's very difficult to explore with the massive amount of pressure as soon as you get a certain depth in the ocean. It's very difficult, but you think we would be able to master that. But no, we want to spend trillions to go to a dead planet called Marsy. But of course, we don't want to go to any places where there appears to be structures. There has been talk on Mars of having not only one phase, but there may be as many as 4. Why possibly look for something that could change the reality of the world? Let's go to a place where we know they ain't nothing. But that's another story. Let's get back into the common science. And it always amazes me, the more I look into the, basically the male chastity device that is screwed down onto modern science to keep it unenabled. It's always shocking. Their god, basically, is Einstein. And it's very interesting that this guy, who was basically a total failure, couldn't even get a job as a high school teacher, ended up in a patent office with not much to do, and decided, I will write something. Now, his theory of relativity, which was not his whatsoever, he just rewrote it, and rewrote it wrong, by the way. All of Einstein's math tends to be all wrong. The guy was a horrible dyslexic, and basically, I kind of like him with his, what I know of him from his statements, and the fact that he was a horny little devil, married his cousin. We go on and on and on of all the fun things about Einstein. And he used to say that, the best scientist would be a metaphysician, but he couldn't wrap his head around a concept as simple as quantum physics. But his whole writing of E equals mc squared was not written in that way whatsoever. And I'm going to leave a link down below here where you can go and listen to Brian Greene basically describe subtle energy physics and talk about the theory of relativity from Einstein, which, by the way, was 3 pages and not even full pages. So the whole idea is his concepts that caught everyone on. Of course, he probably couldn't write much more than that anyway. He couldn't really put much more down or even write it correctly, because Einstein was kind of a boob. But, when you're in an industry that has no right or wrong, that everything is theoretical, so everything's it's a maybe, could be, ifs, ands, and buts. Well, that's what theoretical physics is. Yet a lot's been proven, and they still refuse, even though they keep talking. Now, what's interesting is, again here, Brian Greene, one of the most noted communicators of physics and science, talks about how energy now turns into mass or something physical. Well, this is what subtle energy physics is all about. So the whole idea is they admit the fact that informational energetic fields, as I always state that they are, can form physical mass, and this is what I've been saying for some time now. Now, where radionics gets lost is people don't understand that you're grabbing these particular type of informational energetic fields and then forming them through a higher level energy, meaning through your consciousness, but not through psychic power. So this is where we get things all messed up, because it isn't that simple. It isn't the simplistic and measurable psychic powers that you produce, the pitiful frequencies that come from the brain that really aren't very strong, but we certainly have frequencies or electromagnetic frequencies coming from our. That's what is measured in many different brain waves. But we need to understand that's not it. While it is a psychic process, meaning it's not really psychic as we know it, like you call Madame Levinsky on the 900 lines years ago and get a psychic reading, or even do that today, contact somebody online or whatever and get a psychic reading. Well, those energies are quite different, and there are many different types of these biophysical, bioconsciousness energy. So this is a consciousness energy, not a raw psychic energy. So I would be putting this all into my course, but, it all fits together. The pieces have always fit together, and of course, ancient science and alchemy has always been the real science. And real science keeps going back to taking, and they'll have to eventually admit the non-physical creates the physical. They're going to have to do this because they are at the end of their rope. They even say that for every particle or energy or vibration that they find, they believe there's one that we haven't found. Well, I think that's being honest. To think that we know everything and we know the chemicals and everything, we've got everything broken down, we know all the vitamins, do we? Do we know all the vitamins? What about the vibrational vitamins? We all know that this is just fantasy. They used to think that particularly things like smell and everything was based in the lock and key principle. A certain smell would come in, and that goes into a particular receptor that it fits in, and then Well, now they found that that's really not overly true. It's more of a quantum understanding as things come in and blend in many areas. So there's all these types of things that have to be understood on a much higher level. And you can make this very complicated. I could write volumes on subtle energy physics and how this interacts with and proves, of course, radionic energies, which is radionic energies and the tools used with them are very important because this is the subtle energy physics that all creation comes from. And by using these tools yourself, you become a creator of the universe. And of course, you're that way anyway because these informational energetic fields have been mixing with psions or energies from other substances, people, societies, and spiritual energies, to use a term to kind of explain it, to then form some sort of matter. Now, that could be a planet, it could be a gas, it could be whatever. And that's where everything comes from. And once these become more sophisticated, when the gases become planets and the planets become habitable and start other energies and creating species on there, because that's what happens. The planets start creating some sort of species, or species are placed here from another informational energetic field that then energizes higher life forms because now it can support that. This is how the process works. I mean, it's not really difficult. Of course, everybody wants to make everything difficult so they sound like they're the expert. But that's not the case at all. So the whole idea is that you take energy and form matter. Now, regular science has now said that. Now, they consider energy apparently physical. Well, that's a debate whether that is or not, but what forms the energy? Well, the energy has to come from something. So, but energy generally is non-physical, even though it is measurable, I guess, to a degree. It depends on what they're talking about in terms of energy, but something has to create energy. So, energy creates mass. It's just as simple as that. But why bother with the mass when you can create anything you want out of the subtle informational field that you interact with? Now, you create higher and better fields by using advanced technologies to form this type of energy into what you want, project it to what you want. That's called radionics, to use that kind of primitive term. But when you start using new terms, and there's a whole bunch of new terms for subtle energy physics as well, but if I start using all the new terms, then you have to educate people and give them a dictionary. But for the time being, we're going to talk about that. Now, radionics is not a classic psychic energy field. You're tuning into higher energy fields by using radionic designs. You're connecting to it. Now, I've been saying this as well, and a lot of people miss this. This is why we make manifesting energy cells, etc. Well, what these are connecting you, the terminology I use is an energetic stream. So there's an energetic stream for everything. It's unlimited. Love, money, stock market success, influence, you name it, healing. And there could be millions of healing energies out there. You have to tap into the right one. Now, what we do with our energy cells is that we connect you to a area of energy that you need. Let's say it's money. So there's a whole bunch of informational energetic fields in the actual cell that you then is connected to you by using your representation in the universe, which everybody is so stuck on numbers. But numbers are informational energetic field identifiers. So when you get your cosmic code, you've been identified by the universe. That's you. So we could use a picture. We could use a duck with a hat on it. People like to use photographs in their names, but these are crude. Photographs have a lot of energy in them because they are a physical makeup of your being. And a lot of people look the same. As much as we want to think we're unusual, we're not. There's a lot of lookalikes. People look very similar. So photographs aren't that good. Now, they do vibrate your particular, but they're not really pinpoint. What you want to do is take a gross energy field like your photograph and turn it into a highly specific energetic code. That's what the code is on this could be called your personal radionic rate, which it is. You get 9 numbers, which is your standard use unit in this day and age, is a 9-dial unit. A 9-dial unit is able to tune into just about everything. Now, professionals can get unlimited amounts of dials and tune it in, but what people don't understand is the more dials you have, the more errors you make. Once you go over 9, it's very difficult to tune anything in personally. Now, if you're using some sort of rate book or other thing, you can get complicated rates, but these have to be done by professionals. You can't do that yourself. You can't learn to do that either. You can learn to use a book. And of course, this is how radionics was used initially by Drown, by Copen, all of them. They gave you books. You bought the machine and you dialed in the number that was in the book. You weren't supposed to get your own numbers. You can't do that past a certain level. But if you want to be good at it, you have to be trained. It's like saying that you can just be a physicist or you can be a doctor. No, you have to train. Can you get some basic information or can you kind of know medicine? Well, yeah, you can kind of know medicine. But that is not being a professional. If you expect to get high-end results, you have to really be a professional. You have to train. You have to do take all the courses, do all the things that's laid out. And most people don't want to do that. They just want to jump ahead. But that's fine, and you're going to get results as an average person will get results. But you're not going to be a master, and you're not going to be an expert. So we're putting all these courses together to make you a master and expert. We pretty much have them already. We're going to have more detailed training coming out soon in audio fashion, as followed with a complete course in video showing you how everything works. This is so critical and so needed. But you need to understand that. So we cut through all that by getting you your cosmic code, which is then engraved on the back of your manifesting energy cell, MECTEC as I call it. And that, depending on the cell, is depending on what is then the energy stream you're connected to. Now, we have the ultimate armor one, which has all of our cells, almost all of it. About 90% of what we make is in the ultimate armor cell. And you can then have to tune into that energy and draw it to you. And at times that can be difficult. I mean, it's nice to have something that has everything in it, but you're going to have to focus so that you connect yourself to that particular stream. Again, let's say you need protection. Let's say there are icy roads out there and you got to drive 30 miles home. So you need protection. So you got to then use the energy cell as defined, which is very easy. You basically hold it in your hand, you connect to the protection energy, you draw it into you, kind of like a spiral around you in a clockwise fashion, and you have created a magnetic energy field, kind of mountain, just using that term, but all this stuff, magnetism, all this kind of stuff, doesn't pertain to these higher level energies. So they are not electromagnetic in their buildup. Electromagnetics has nothing to do with higher consciousness functioning, something that everyone needs to know and something I'm now pushing. People want to claim it is. And I've always said there's a little, and there is a little bit, because there is a certain energies coming out of your actual physical brain that produces an electromagnetic field. And we live in electron. But, we're stuck in the electromagnetic spectrum as a people. And it's one reason why we can't get most things done. It is not that. It's well past that. I mean, there used to be theories called the etheric. Other energies, and there was energies found, as it was the famous report from the French who invaded Egypt and found lighting that was not ran. They didn't have to plug it into the wall. There wasn't generators out there. They were drawing energy from the actual atmosphere. And there has been people proven that by using a pyramid, they were able to light a very low-powered light. And I've seen this demonstrate. So they're drawing energy from the etheric. The ether is what it's been called many times. And there was a whole theory of the ether that has now been passed by going to others. But since, again, we're getting into the very crude electromagnetic, we're getting into the very crude generation. This is all primitive nonsense. And it works on a certain level. So we get stuck in this. We build our entire society based on electrical power generated this way. And of course, we can generate electromagnetic energy through lots of pure, easy ways like hydrogen, solar, wind. But hydrogen is really all we need. We don't have to spend trillions of dollars on all these other things like solar and everything else, which is difficult to put up, problematical, and so is solar for that matter, which you got to have all these panels and all these other things. Hydrogen, all you need is a generator. Simple as that, ready to go right now. Has been ready to go for 100 years, by the way. But again, we don't want to use anything that works. We want to keep searching for stupid energy. So the whole idea is that's all we need. So getting back into the subtle energy. So that's how it works. Now, the reason I bring that up is not to highlight the products, but I make products because that's what works. I make products because that's how real science is. And you need these. You're not going to be able to do this yourself. You can't get your own cosmic code. You don't have the skill. Unless you're a master radionic person and you have the proper equipment and you've trained your mind consciousness properly, forget about it. You're not going to do it. You're at a very base level, which is why we provide everything. And we make rate cards and certain things, and we will be giving you rates that you write down, etc. So all this is critical for your success, and you have to stop depending on yourself. Now, we are going to eventually have units that you can tune, or at least you'll have numbers you can tune in, and you can attempt to tune them yourself, but it is very difficult. And as you say, trying to tune a radionic instrument is a high-level skill. If you equate it to sports, it's the Olympics. Any sport, you would be a professional, not a high school athlete, not anything else. So we need to understand that while it's often talked about as a psychic functioning, it's much higher than that. Your psychic functioning is not producing the results. Your psychic functioning is connecting to a stream of power that you bring into to empower what you're doing. Your psychic power, you are nothing more than a basic channel for energy. It's as simple as that. You don't produce much of anything, you channel it. Because you just don't, the energy just isn't there. The human capacities are very minimal. Now, people who do amazing things, well, they train all the time to connect to this very empowered stream of empowerment. So people that can do anything, quote, metaphysical or produce things, telepathy, teleportation, whatever it may be, telekinesis, All of this is energy that you're drawing into you. Basically, it's drawn from the source. It goes into the top of your head through a combination of higher level chakras, you could call them, goes into your crown chakra, and then it's channeled through you. And you are that channel, and you are that filter, and you've got millions of miles of nerves and other things to sense these energies. They're sensors. They are not amplifiers or generators. They're sensors. You sense it, and then you channel it to whatever your target is. That's how it all works. And of course, that's how a radionic machine works. You dial it in, but it is not a psychic. And I've said it myself, psychic process, so people understand it. Because what I'm giving you right now, and I'm not sure if people understand it. So I try and keep things as simple as possible. It is a consciousness process, and that's different than psychic. And we need to understand that psychic is kind of the dirty dead dog of pee and urine, of feces, of how people look at things. It's a word that has been degraded by basically those unintelligent boobs out there that want to attack real science, because that's what they're doing. That's real science. The real science out there is the bioconsciousness, which can produce anything. And this has been shown for hundreds of years, basically. And for the last 150 years, there's been research into these areas, or people channeling energy to produce everything from remote viewing to moving objects. And this has been filmed, proven, time and time again. But of course, nothing satisfies those that want to suppress mankind, and that's what these people are. I mean, your dumb bunkers and your idiot skeptics are people that are intrinsically evil scumbuckets who are trying to keep this planet in the prison camp Earth that it is. These people are all about that, and you just have to look about who they are. Most of them haven't even graduated high school. They're sexual deviants. They're criminals that have felonies that they have been convicted of and served time. This is your dumb bunkers. Clown college graduates. Wow. So, and then scientists sit down next to these clown college graduates and talk to them like there's something above the flea's belly intelligence depth that they are. These are ignorant, buffoonish people that shouldn't even be given a second of any serious scientist's time. But because they're celebrities and have lots of money, the reason the world is messed up is because of the scientists. The scientists have built all these destructive weapons, the poisons, the nuclear power plants. They weren't built by politicians. They were designed and built by scientists. So let's find out and let's understand who has made all the wrong moves and who is to blame for everything. So that they should be ashamed of themselves of what scientists have done without any morality whatsoever, producing garbage technology that destroys the earth directly or indirectly, like nuclear power plants, which leave horrible toxins that we just dump in the oceans and don't know what to do with. Who invented that and thought that was good? A scientist. That's unbelievable. So let us fully understand what's happening there. But let's get back into these energies, which now have been pretty much regular science is catching up slowly and admitting that they know nothing, that, yeah, we find one particle, and, they say for every we find, there's probably another one we haven't. Well, I think that's being very conservative. I think for every particle you find, there probably is 100 different ones. And the universe isn't made up of just these quarks. Or the one I love from the physicists is they actually name something the stick-on. It's a stick-on. They have gluons. This is the kind of nonsense you get from these pseudo-educated boobs that don't get anything. But this is what they name things. When they can't name it after themselves, which is what they like to do anyway, being the egotistical maniacs they are. So the whole idea is that this has been proven. The other thing that's been proven to get back into the transfer of energy is that, of course, quantum entanglement. So the point is that energy is shifting back and forth from identical energies all the time. This is what tachyons and neutrons do because it's instantaneous. They're faster than the speed of light. Of course, they won't say that, but it's instantaneous connection. This has been proven to happen. So, ancient science has always known that. If you want to go back to more primitive understanding of things, when someone uses a photograph, hair, blood, well, you're connected to that particular entity, human, whatever it is. So the whole idea is that when you're connected to that, then you can use the quantum entanglement understanding and send informational energetic fields to that particular person to get a particular result. If you want to heal a person that's 6,000 miles away, it doesn't matter because you're connected to them energetically. Now, regular science says, yes, this is true. Well, that's been known for 100,000 years. Regular science. The other thing that regular science has done is that they have done teleportation. This is a known fact. They have teleported photons and actually, I believe it's like one molecule or something that is a very tiny single item. They've also been able to teleport physical matter. Now, photons are energetic in nature, but they've been doing that for years, teleporting photons. Now they're teleporting actually one tiny, I don't know if they call it a molecule or whatever, electron, I think it is. One tiny electron, which is a tiny, but they've been able, which is a physical item. Unlike photons, which they don't consider physical, but yes, they do. It's a wave, it's a particle, it's Superman. So the whole idea is that all of these things have now been demonstrated in the labs time and time again. They're considered to be a scientific fact, and that includes teleportation. Now, there's a big difference between teleporting a single neutron or whatever, electron, and teleporting in a giant, complicated human, as we see in Star Trek's Teleporter. So it's very, very different when you have to reassemble, I don't know how many trillions, billions, quadrillions, whatever there is even a word for it, to reassemble an entire human. At this particular point, we're not even close to doing that. There's one little mistake in the reassembly, and you're dead, you're a freak, or whatever's happening. So it's very, very difficult because it has to be perfect. It can't be close. But this has been proven to work. So here we go again. Now they have taken things that are completely energetic in nature and teleported them. Well, here we go again. You're creating informational energetic forms through a radionic machine or through a radionic tool of some sort. It could be, again, we try and make things very simple. Because all you need is to amplify either a professional number rate that's given to you or your own biophysical consciousness energies, meaning you want to send energy of success, love, influence, etc. Well, all you need is a good amplifier because you're going to channel that energy in anyway. You become a channel for that energy. How do you do that? Visualization. You have to concentrate on it. And that in itself, to be a good visual, I don't think anybody visually. If you're not using tools to practice visualization, you're not doing it to a high level. And if you're not centering yourself, meaning controlling your mind so it can generate enough energy to do the proper visualization, etc., you're operating at very low level. What the exciting thing about it, all that is, and of course, nobody wants to be a professional. You're going to go to somebody else to be a professional, just like you go to a doctor. Well, you're not going to spend all that time becoming a doctor. So you go to a doctor and get there. But, I'm not sure that's an answer either because basically they just give you pills. All you really had to do is punch your symptoms into a machine and it'll tell you to take the latest Pfizer crap. So, do we need doctors? Since they spend less than 3 minutes with most patients, what can possibly be exchanged on that? I don't feel good, I'm tired. Oh, we get a blood test, we look at... Well, we could do that in a machine as well. A machine can... I'm sure there could be a machine to extract blood from you, have it come out of what the statistical data there is, compare it to what it should be, and then you're popped out with your symptoms. We don't need doctors. And, by the way, they've been doing this for years. Matter of fact, your life is based on it. It's called Kaiser Permanente. When you call them and you want to go to the hospital, you have to call them. And then they put your information in a computer which decides if you should go to the hospital or not. Now, you can't diagnose if you're a regular person, but apparently computers can. This is the kind of evil sickness that goes on. But I say, well, let's take that to one next step. Let's get rid of all the doctors. We don't need them. So, the bottom line is you're not going to do that anyway. If you need surgery or other things, you need something past the 99.9% of the things that doctors do, then you are able to do this yourself. But you're not going to do that in general. You're not going to learn to become a doctor. And of course, they've stopped you from doing it, and you can't write your own prescriptions, so there's all sorts of problems. So you should go to a professional and get the rates you need, get everything else you need. But you can use amplifying tools, and this is what we're talking. Everything's about amplifying. But you have to use the right tools, and you have to make sure the person making these tools knows what they're talking about. And quite frankly, I'm the only one that does. Most of the stuff out there is primitive garbage. It doesn't have it. And don't think that when you see one of our products that appears to be simplistic, that's all that's there. Our particular empowerment cells and so forth have hundreds of designs in them that are empowering it on many different levels. There's amplifying patterns within our radionic energy cells. There's broadcasting energies. So there's all sorts of things in there. There's hundreds of designs of different radionic units. So these are very unique tools. Then they're hooked up to you, if you have one like that, to your personal cosmic code, your radionic rate, your special rate for only you in the universe. Very, very important. So anything you put into that particular cell goes to you directly through quantum entanglement, which again is proven by regular science to be real. So all of this is fascinating because I've known this for years, and I've finally defined it here and kind of figured it all out because you get bad information from everybody. The problem is that all books on radionics really don't talk about the fields and how they come together, how the energy is broadcast. And it gets down to this very nebulous, it's just psychic. It's not psychic power, and you think you're projecting some energy. No, your energy must be amplified. It's important even to transmit it, which is another form of amplification. You have to make sure that you get the energy going. And of course, when you're using machines and stuff, you should be amplifying the energy going into a machine when you're trying to figure out a rate. These are other things that aren't done. So all of this has to be done properly, and this will all come together very soon. We've put out basic tools right now which work fantastically, particularly for the average person, because you're not going to sit there and go through a quasi course to become an expert, meaning something to just kind of train you as a civilian, so to speak. You're not going to go through the doctor's course. You're not going to get the PA. You're just not going to do it. We're going to offer these. And hopefully this will help people, but people don't want to train themselves. They didn't want to get the basic course that we offer right now, which gives you a foundation of it. Now, this is going to be added to, and we're going to get into a lot of practical things very soon, and there'll be this whole video course talking about these things. And this is a very advanced skill that you have to develop, and you have to develop your channeling abilities. You've got to open your channels, become very sensitive, which means how to open these channels so it flows through you. Now that you're a channel, well, how do you then channel that to your target, to get a rate, etc.? This is all very complicated and not easy. They've been trying for the last 30, 40 years to push radionic equipment on people, telling them it's so easy. It is not easy. And if you had rate books, of course, solve the problem. You dial it in, but rate books have always been a problem. We're not really sure if rate books are good in a bigger picture, because you should get your own personal rate. So let's say you're trying to balance an energy within you, and you find this, and let's say it's higher intelligence. And I come up with a rate for higher intelligence, which is a general rate. Well, you should have the higher intelligent rate for you, Bob Smith. If it isn't for Bob Smith, it means that general rate is not as effective because it's general. But it is effective to a degree. Is it enough? Will it work? Well, we don't know. And of course, this whole area has nothing but I don't know in it. But the whole world is I don't know. There's very little substantiated facts on anything. People don't do the research. It's too costly. It's too difficult. So it's all hearsay. Yes, we think so, etc. But certainly the people in the radionic field, all of them, have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. And that includes the more official people, which apparently have well-meaning, but nothing comes from them. There's a few associations, but I haven't seen anything. And they don't really know what's going on so many levels. They have very primitive understandings, and they don't have the higher energy physics, the subtle energy physics. They don't really have that down and understand it. And people want to cop out saying this is a psychic process. Well, psychic is a very general term. What does that mean? Is it mind-based, thought-based? Does it come from the brain? Does the brain produce it? What is psychic? So the whole idea is psychic has been horribly abused by the dumb bunkers out there, which have made it into a word that basically now means fraud and lying. But, that's the game that's going on. You've got to understand that that's what these sexual deviants, clown college graduates, convicted felons, this is who represents the other side. So most educated scientists will not in any way put down the psychic sciences, if we want to call it that, or psi power, or consciousness power. All of them understand this is real, but they can't come out and say it because they have these paid disinformation agents that go out there and change Seweropedia and all the other things that are out there to warp it in there. I mean, they wouldn't even let the noted advanced doctoral degree, Russell Targ, who is a qualified PhD from a top university and who basically was involved in the perfection and inventing of lasers, to even mention that on his Seweropedia page. They blocked him from that. What is going on here? This is what you get from these criminals who are trying to keep us all in the sewer, and these are crimes against humanity. We have not advanced because of people like this that keep us in the non-working criminal science realms of things, which isn't difficult to do because the bottom line is you control all the scientists anyway. Don't agree with us? You're fired. What? I spent 10 years learning shit. Well, we don't care. You got no job because you didn't follow the company line. And that's how they all are. And you just have to listen to them. But, they always get into real talk of what practical, real physics is when you listen to them long enough, because they have to. Because when they start getting into this ridiculous physical only, and as Tesla said, as soon as we start researching the non-physical, meaning informational energetic fields, science will jump leaps and bounds ahead. Well, of course, because you're not going to find this stuff. I mean, science is so primitive it isn't even funny. I mean, we have this collider. Do you know what the collider is? What is it? The Hadron Collider in Switzerland? Well, you're running stuff together. So basically, from what I understand, the concept come from watching two kids play with Hot Wheels when they ran their cars together. And they said, oh, Bertrand, we could do this with particles and find out what comes out from them. Oh, my. This is the kind of nonsense that's been. So the point is the collider has been a total failure. It's produced virtually nothing. They haven't found anything. They make up stuff like, we haven't found any particles, the God particle. It's nonsense. Basically, they found some debris, some I call it the poo of some sort of substance that they think is what is created in all creation. Well, that's a big leap. But of course, they have to justify their salaries and the $1 billion. But they need to make a bigger one. It's got to be twice as big and everything else. And of course, they had to build that thing in Europe where there's very little land to do that with instead of Texas, which has endless land. But of course, the ignoramuses and the American government, just like they wouldn't fund the SST, the supersonic transport, and things like that, that it goes to other people. Now the people who are going to have the largest, best collider is, guess what? We're going to have a collider, the biggest and best. You want egg roll with that? So the whole idea is they're going to have the technology, and that's the way the world is going to be. The only thing that the West have is continuing to put trillions of dollars into weapons of mass destruction, because the bottom line is its only answer that the West has, and particularly the United States, is military force. That's it. And of course, the military force of the West is the United States, because nobody else puts any money into the military except for the stupid sucker Americans. They'll come with their hat in hand, and of course, make sure that American blood is everywhere. And of course, the corrupt, horrible American government bends over and licks the butt of every foreigner in the world. And of course, they pick our pockets, and that's okay. So this is all the things that we run into in terms of these energies. But it's very important to understand that you are channeling energies. You are not producing it. Very, very important. You don't have the capacity. And when people are able to do amazing things like telekinesis or whatever they may do, whatever their remote, whatever it is that people claim they do at high levels and can be verified, and there's many of those things, they've channeled the energy. They have not produced it. Understand that, very critical. And also understand how things are connected to. So, based in the understanding, life is this giant web, and everything is kind of connected to this web. So no matter where you are in the universe, you're still connected to this giant web, which then connects you to whomever you can target or connect to yourself. That's how it works. So you channel the energy in, you then connect that energy to a particular target, whatever that may be, sending them that energy. And that energy is stored in your cell through a very complicated and advanced system of glyphs and sigils. And these are shapes and vibrations and colors and numbers. They all produce a particular type of energy. This is then sent to your target, and if you've done it right, you get amazing results. But most likely, you're not doing it right. You haven't been able to channel properly. You haven't trained yourself properly. But, it's amazing. These energies are so powerful, and I make the finest tools ever made. The finest engineering, the finest understanding, the finest materials are put into it. Everything is highest quality that can do within reason. Because you get too high a quality and you start using too many things, well, the cost skyrockets and then nobody can afford it. But we produce very high quality products at very reasonable prices. So the whole idea is that it's all there for you, and it's been designed. We try and use precious metals and so forth, which transfer energy better, who serve as a channel better. And these have been used by ancient alchemists and scientists for thousands of years, and for reasons. People don't even understand what precious metals are. They're active. Gold doesn't tarnish. Why? Because it's an active metal that anything that's placed on it, it dissipates those energies. Isn't that fascinating? So the whole idea is that's how these things work. So it's an alive energy there. So this is a fantastic conductor of all types of energies, even the electromagnetic, which it conducts fantastically, as well as the bioconsciousness energies. So psychic is a terrible word. It's bioconsciousness, which is a whole realm of empowerment, which just ain't your little feeble mind putting out an electromagnetic field, which is what a lot of people think psychic power is. But psychic power has never been electromagnetic. psychic messages, because I just explained what they are, but even if you go back to the old concept, have been able to be received in bank vaults and Faraday cages, which all of these things, there is no electromagnetic energies possible to enter these places. Yet the bioconsciousness fields reach there instantly using quantum entanglement. It's not electromagnetic. Quantum entanglement is not electromagnetic. We need to get away from that. I've confused people a little bit in the past by talking about it. And there is a tiny bit of electromagnetic because your body puts that out. To a certain degree, your whole body is a chemical battery. And that chemical battery does produce crude energies. But basically, it's a battery to power and keep alive you as a physical entity so you can use your bioconsciousness, not to produce electromagnetic fields that you then project. Now, the problem is that most regular scientists think that everything that exists in life is the electromagnetic. Here we go again with this imbecilic way of looking at things and not being open. I mean, there are some scientists that are open. And I've heard a few of them speak, and you can just tell the people have wisdom. I forget this Israeli guy, I forget his name, who talks about particularly extraterrestrial life. He was very open to everything. That's what you should be as a scientist. You shouldn't be delusional and think every leaf that blows by is some sort of metaphysical manifestation. On the other hand, you have to look at everything and go, well, what is this all about? You need to be open to everything because everything we know now was in the past thought of as being fictitious and lies. So what is the truth? The truth is what is real and now. What is the science of now? The science of the future. That's what's real, not the past. Not a concept of E equals MC squared, which wasn't even written that way, by the way. I don't know if I've said this already, or I know I've said it in the past, but if you look at the original document that Einstein produced, he didn't even use that. He used symbols that modern physicists of today don't quite understand. And you can hear Brian Greene talk about that. It's comical that what we know is E equals MC squared, which we've seen everywhere a lot. He didn't write that at all. Oh, it meant that. Oh, you cleaned it up. From what I understand, Einstein's mathematics was all wrong and continued to be all wrong. Apparently, he impressed people, which is 3 pages of writing that made everybody a slave to his way of thinking. But he didn't invent it anyway. He just re-talked about that concept that somebody else wrote about. And that's pretty typical of what science does in general. There's very little new developments, but people explain things differently and better and change a little bit. They kind of customize something that's already there. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that, but people need to understand that Einstein's theory of relativity was not Einstein's whatsoever. It was a rewriting. He explained relativity in a new way, in his own way, that is totally different from what he originally wrote. Huh? Well, that's right. And he didn't believe in black holes. He didn't believe in quantum physics. I mean, there's all sorts of things. And I'm not sure there are black holes either, to be honest with you. I tend to agree with him. I think it's another fantasy of science. And just about everything that science gives you is kind of a fantasy. There's no proof they exist. Nobody's seen a black hole. That black hole is a black hole, if those are even real. So the fact is that black holes were not considered real for a long time. Now people consider that as proven science, but it's not necessarily true. And even the person most known for that throughout his entire career kept changing. Black holes aren't real. They don't exist. They pop up anywhere. They disappear. I mean, what is this? If they disappear at any time and can just vanish, because that's the nature of a black hole, it takes in so much energy, it just pops like a bubble, I guess. And disappears. And one can pop up in your bathroom. So be careful next time you take a shower. This is not a joke. This is what they tell you. So if that's the case, we have no proof that it's here, it's gone, it's nowhere, it is, it's there, it's not. Where is it? I don't know. It was here yesterday. So the whole idea is this is the kind of nonsense that science is so or common science is so known for. But that's because they don't understand the nature of the universe and how it works. And I've explained this before, and I will put it in my book and my course of how the universe works, occultons and psions, and how informational energetic fields produce everything in the universe. That's the God force. The God force is informational energetic fields, which are neutral, and they go out and they keep making stuff. It's the creative energy. People could call it the creator energy or God, because God is the only thing that can really create something from nothing. But that's kind of a childish and almost imbecilic way of explaining something. This is an informational energetic force of the highest and most supreme level. So it has ultimate consciousness of what's more important is creation. So that's basically what God. If you have to ask what God is, what does God really do in the primitive human earth being mind? Well, ultimately God is creator. I mean, that's what it started with. You had to create something to then create man. There had to be a place for man to stand on, for man to be part of, for man to be part of this reality. So all of that. And of course, there is intelligent species that have been here from the beginning. Mankind did not come from apes. It was a species that's been here from the beginning. So, and of course, people want to argue, it's just nonsense. I mean, it's been proven, and they found humanoids going back millions of years. So, to think that people came, it doesn't even make sense that a species evolves and then stops. So, certain apes became humans, other ones stayed apes. It's kind of strange as far as I'm concerned. So as we look at all that, we need to fully understand these energies and how it is and how you use tools so that you as an individual can actually use the creative forces of the universe. You can use the same God force creation energies that God himself uses. So that, if you think about it, is mind-boggling. Now, we know all this. We have equipment that does a pretty good job, but we are developing things. There's no research. I know exactly how the entire universe works and what to do to make better, more developed tools. It's all there. I just need the time to do it. So anybody who's listening to this, of course, should go over to Patreon, support this organization, the only one really doing anything, and make sure that I have the money to live on so that I can develop these technologies to the next level. If you're not a participatory person helping the society, you are part of the problem. So make sure you do that. Check out our website. Make sure you like and subscribe to this particular video so that we play the game here. It's important that we have a reach. Now, this channel has always been marginalized, so they don't want the information out there. People who say very similar to what I do, almost identical, are hosted and pushed by YouTube so that they get all these views. Well, I don't really care personally, but because my message reaches the right people, and I'm not too interested in the masses, those goofball Satanists, and all the people who like to attack me. Yawn, yawn, yawn. So the whole idea is that we're on track. We are in the development stage. We are not in the research stage. We know exactly what's going on here. We just need support to do that. And of course, you can always support us. You don't have to necessarily donate, even though it's a small amount of money monthly to get amazing things done. Make sure you go to our website. Check out all these wonderful products that we offer. They're very reasonable. All of the tools we offer are lifetime tools. These are not things you're going to use for a month or 2 years or 5 years. You're going to use these daily for the rest of your life, and you can actually pass these on to your loved ones, your children, your grandchildren. Wouldn't that be a fantastic gift? People keep watches and rings and marriage bands and necklaces and all these things. Why not give your family the ultimate energy from you, which would be an energy cell that has your cosmic code on it, where they can actually communicate to you from wherever they're at to wherever you're at. That's the other thing that's amazing about radionic tech's tools. Not only do they work in this life and they work forever, they're lifetime tools, but they work in the next life as well. Really exciting that is there. Now, you don't have to respond to anybody. I had one person contact me. I don't want my relatives contacting me. Well, I understand that. So, but there must be somebody that you care about that maybe would be good, maybe a grandchild, who knows? But these are energetic. But if you don't have to do that and you don't have to leave it to anybody, the bottom line is that you're going to use this for the rest of your life. So these are such amazing buys. They're so inexpensive that it's just mind-boggling. All of this is available to you to tap into anything you want to do. Once you learn how to do it, the universe is your oyster, so to speak. So once you learn how to use this technology correctly, you can manifest most anything within reason. Now, we must understand, and we'll go into that in different lectures, winning the lottery and all these things. Well, people have done it, but this is not easy, and it takes a very advanced practitioner. Here's where training comes in again. And you have to be able to spend the time. I wish I could spend more time in that, but I don't have time to do it. I'm too busy chasing down lost packages and sending out tracking information. So that's where my expertise goes. That has to stop. We need to get people to support this organization so less time is spent in that. So this is all the things that everyone needs to understand, but the whole idea of how this technology works is 100% known, 100% verified, and 100% we know it works. But does it work every time for everybody? Well, of course not. Situations in life in particular, when you're using subtle energy informational fields to either influence somebody or bring non-physical things to you, meaning even money, energy, and other things, well, it's very individualistic, but we've never really had 100% failure. Really, it's just to what level of manifesting are you personally able to achieve based in your skills, your abilities, and how much you've trained yourself. It's not whether it works or not. It's not whether there's energies there. How can you use this technology? So, and this is how all of life is. I mean, you can give a skilled builder cement, hammers, boards, nails, whatever it is, and they'll build you a great house. If you give it to an unskilled person, he's going to build a junky, possibly dangerous house because he's unskilled. But he still builds a house, and it's probably livable, and he probably can stay in there, and it's probably okay. But if you want a professionally built house, well, you have to hone your skills. And I can't emphasize that more dramatically. Hopefully that's bringing a lot of cool understanding to everybody. You know what's going on. This is really fascinating that we finally got to a level where we really know what's going on. And there's been some amazing breakthroughs from a few others out there as well who claim a lot of stuff that we're looking into. But, everything is still unknown. It's an industry where people do nothing but fight, and it's competitive, and people are trying to make a living. And it's really sad that the subtle energy practitioners, the radionic practitioners, don't talk to anybody. They don't share information. I remember trying that about 5 years ago with a particular person, and they didn't want to share anything. Well, that's pretty sad. Are they that fragile with their technologies? And this was a person who was wealthy on top of it. They made a lot of money in the music industry, yet they didn't want to share what they have. And basically what they have, while it was well made because he made other machines, was just a copy of Malcolm Ray's stuff, which is very questionable to begin with. So just the same old stuff. They think they had stuff, plates, other things. Well, none of this stuff works very well. They're missing what's going on here. And I don't think they understand the subtle energy physics of it all, and they haven't applied that to their product. So buying these things is a waste of time and money because they're not going to produce. They don't know what they're doing, and you don't need fancy, complicated equipment. You need good, empowered equipment, and you have to be the person that makes it work. Until next time.